Rose Collins scrubbed the marble floor with steady, practiced strokes. The eastern wing of the crystalline palace stretched before her like a gleaming cathedral of light and power. She had been doing this same work for 3 years now, ever since she left Earth looking for better opportunities. The Meridian Empire promised jobs and safety for humans willing to work hard. What they didn't mention in the recruitment materials was that humans would always be at the bottom. The Asharans who ruled this world were beautiful in a way that made Rose uncomfortable. They moved with impossible grace, their skin shimmering with faint iridescence. They could speak to each other without words, thoughts flowing between their minds like water. Humans couldn't do that. Humans scrubbed floors and carried packages and stayed quiet. Rose preferred it that way. Invisibility meant safety. She had learned that lesson quickly when she first arrived. The human who spoke up got fired. The human who complained got deported. The human who made trouble simply disappeared. So Rose kept her eyes down and her mouth shut and tried to save enough money to maybe, someday, go somewhere better. Master Greaves found her halfway through the eastern corridor. He was the head steward, responsible for all human workers in the palace. His weathered face looked more tired than usual. "Collins, I need you for a special assignment," he said quietly. Rose felt her stomach tighten. Special assignments were never good. They meant going places humans normally didn't go, doing jobs that carried risk. But refusing wasn't an option. "Yes, sir," she said. "The Crown Prince's sanctuary needs cleaning. His usual attendants are all sick with that flu going around. You're careful and quiet. Don't touch anything you don't have to. Don't look at anything longer than necessary. Get in clean, get out. Understand?" Rose nodded, though her hands had started trembling. Prince Stellan was known throughout the palace as cold and distant. More importantly, he kept a dragon. A real, actual dragon that shared his soul through some kind of magic bond. Dragons were supposed to be sacred, powerful, and extremely dangerous. Master Greaves gave her a key card and a warning look. "The dragon's name is Ash. If you see him, freeze. Don't run. Don't make sudden moves. He probably won't even notice you're there." The sanctuary occupied the highest tower of the palace. Rose climbed the spiral stairs with cleaning supplies weighing down her arms. Each step took her further from the safe, familiar world of service corridors and storage rooms. The air grew warmer as she climbed. A strange smell like incense and sulfur filled her nose. The door opened to reveal a space unlike anything Rose had seen before. The circular room had no roof, open to the purple sky of Ashara. Plants from a dozen worlds grew in wild tangles. A small waterfall cascaded down one wall into a crystal pool. Perches and platforms jutted from the walls at various heights. It was beautiful and alien and slightly frightening. Rose started with the floor, staying near the entrance. She worked methodically, letting the familiar rhythm of cleaning calm her nerves. Sweep, scrub, rinse, dry. Simple tasks that didn't require thought. She was almost relaxed when she heard the sound. A deep, rumbling breath came from somewhere above. Rose froze, her heart hammering. Slowly, she looked up. The dragon lounged on the highest perch, nearly invisible against the darkening sky. Ash was smaller than she expected, maybe the size of a large horse with scales that shifted between gray and deep blue. His eyes were closed. He appeared to be sleeping. Rose barely breathed as she continued cleaning, moving in slow motion. She was nearly finished when her foot caught on an uneven stone. She stumbled, her bucket clattering loudly against the floor. Ash's eyes snapped open. They glowed like molten gold. Rose did exactly what Master Greaves said. She froze completely, not even blinking. The dragon's head turned toward her with reptilian slowness. He studied her for a long moment. Then he spread his wings, a magnificent span of membrane and bone, and dropped from his perch. He landed directly in front of her. Rose could feel heat radiating from his body. His breath smelled like hot metal. She wanted to run more than she'd ever wanted anything in her life, but her legs wouldn't move. Ash lowered his massive head and sniffed her. His nostrils flared. He made a sound somewhere between a growl and a purr. Then, with no warning at all, he opened his mouth and bit her hand. Pain exploded up Rose's arm. She gasped but didn't scream. The dragon's teeth sank deep into her flesh. She could feel bones grinding together. Then something else happened. Heat poured from the bite, not painful now but intense, spreading through her entire body. The wound began to glow with golden light. The world tilted. Rose felt herself falling but never hit the ground. Sounds rushed into her head, sounds that weren't sounds at all. Images flooded her mind. Memories that weren't hers. She saw mountains and caves and skies filled with dragons. She felt emotions too big for her human heart, ancient and vast and utterly alien. Then darkness swallowed everything. Rose woke to voices arguing above her. Her hand throbbed with dull pain. She tried to open her eyes, but the light hurt too much. "How is she alive?" a male voice demanded. "Dragon bites are fatal. Always, there are no exceptions." "I don't know, Your Highness," another voice answered. Older female. "But she's stable. More than stable. Her vital signs are stronger than before. This is impossible. Run every test." "I want answers." Rose forced her eyes open. White ceiling. Medical equipment. The sterile smell of the palace infirmary. She turned her head and immediately regretted it as the room spun. A tall Asheron stood beside her bed, his face a mask of barely controlled fury. His eyes were the same molten gold as the dragon's. Prince Stellan. He stared at her like she was a particularly problematic puzzle. "What did you do?" he asked, his voice cold as vacuum. Rose tried to speak, but her throat was too dry. A medical attendant offered water. She drank gratefully before answering. "I cleaned your sanctuary, like I was told, and then I startled your dragon. He bit me. I don't remember anything after that." The prince leaned closer. "You're lying. Dragon bites don't glow. They don't create light shows. They certainly don't leave the victim alive and healthy. What magic did you use?" "I don't have magic. I'm human." "Exactly. So explain how you survived." Rose looked at her hand. The bite marks were there, clearly visible, but they'd already healed into silvery scars. More disturbing was the sensation she felt when she concentrated. A presence lurked at the edge of her thoughts, vast and warm, and definitely not human. "I can feel him," Rose whispered. Prince Stellan went very still. "What?" "Your dragon, Ash. I can feel him in my head. He's confused, and hungry, and worried about me." The prince's face went pale, which Rose didn't know was possible for Asheron's. He grabbed her wrist, his fingers cold against her skin. "That's impossible. Only I can feel Ash. We're bonded, soul to soul. No one else can." His voice trailed off. Rose watched understanding and horror dawn in his golden eyes. "No," he said quietly. "This can't be happening." But it was happening. Rose could feel it now, not just Ash, but something else. A third presence, proud and frightened and angry. She was connected to the prince too, somehow, through the dragon that had bitten her. The door burst open. Palace guards rushed in, followed by an elderly Asharan woman in flowing robes. "Arrest her," one guard commanded. "No," Prince Stellan said sharply. "She's under my protection. No one touches her." "Your Highness, the Empress has ordered—" "I don't care what my mother ordered. This human is connected to my dragon. Until I understand how and why she lives, that's final." The guards exchanged uncertain glances but stepped back. The elderly woman approached the bed, her eyes bright with curiosity. "May I examine her, Your Highness?" Prince Stellan nodded stiffly. The woman placed her hands on Rose's temples. Energy flowed between them, warm and searching. The woman's eyes widened. "Extraordinary," she breathed. "The bond is real, genuine. A three-way connection between human, dragon, and prince. I've only read about this in the most ancient texts. It was thought to be legend." "What does it mean?" Rose asked. The elderly woman smiled sadly. "It means, child, that you've just become either the most important person in the Empire or the most dangerous. Possibly both. The last time this happened, 3,000 years ago. It started a war that lasted a century." Rose looked at Prince Stellan. His expression was unreadable, but through their new connection, she felt his emotions clearly. Fear, fascination, and beneath it all, a determination to protect her from whatever came next. Outside the medical wing, she could hear footsteps approaching. Many footsteps. Rose's simple life of scrubbing floors and staying invisible was over. Whatever happened next, the palace would never be silent about it again. Rose spent her first full day under house arrest, learning just how complicated her life had become. The medical wing had transformed into a prison, though a comfortable one. Guards stood outside her door at all hours. Elder Mora, the woman who had examined her, visited regularly with questions Rose couldn't answer. And through it all, she felt Ash constantly in the back of her mind, a warm presence that occasionally sent her flashes of sensation, hunger, flight, contentment. The connection to Prince Stellan was more troubling. Unlike Ash's simple emotions, the prince's thoughts were complex and guarded. Rose couldn't read his mind exactly, but she felt his moods like weather patterns. Right now, he radiated frustration and fear in equal measure. He arrived late in the evening, dismissing the guards with a wave of his hand. He looked exhausted, his usually perfect appearance slightly disheveled. "We need to talk," he said, pulling a chair beside her bed. Privately, Rose sat up, pulling the thin blanket around her shoulders. "About the bond?" "About everything. Elder Mora has been researching all day. What she found..." He paused, running a hand through his dark hair. "It's worse than I thought." "Worse how?" Stellan leaned forward, his voice dropping to barely above a whisper. 3,000 years ago, humans and Asharans lived as equals on this world. We ruled together, connected through dragon bonds. The dragons chose partners from both species freely. Our civilizations were united. Rose felt her breath catch. But that's not what the history books say. No, the history books say humans arrived here 200 years ago as refugees from Earth, that we generously took you in, that you were always the lesser species. His golden eyes met hers. Those books are lies. What happened 3,000 years ago? A faction of Asharans decided they didn't want to share power. They were led by my ancestor, the first emperor. They created a magical weapon, something that severed the bonds between dragons and humans. Not just broke them, but made them impossible to form. Then they rewrote history, burned records, killed anyone who remembered the truth. Within a generation, humans were servants. Within 2 generations, humans believed they'd always been servants. Rose processed this information slowly. But I wasn't born here. I came from Earth. Exactly. The magic that prevents bonds only works on humans born on Ashara. It's cast on every human child at birth, a spell so subtle even our best healers can't detect it. But you came here as an adult. The spell never touched you. Stellan's expression darkened. When Ash bit you, he wasn't attacking. He was trying to bond. It's instinct for dragons. They recognize compatible souls. So I'm not supposed to exist. No, and that terrifies my family. If other humans learn that the bonds are possible, that they were stolen from us, that our entire social order is built on a lie. He didn't finish the sentence. He didn't have to. Rose swung her legs out of bed. Despite spending a day unconscious, she felt stronger than ever. Energy hummed through her body. What do they want to do about me? The Empress wants you executed quietly. Make it look like an accident. The Emperor is considering it. My sister Nova thinks they should just deport you back to Earth and hope you stay quiet. Stellan stood, pacing the small room. I told them all no. I need time to understand this bond. And truthfully, I don't trust them not to hurt Ash in the process of breaking it. Can it be broken? We don't know. The ancient texts Elder Mora found are fragmentary. But breaking soul bonds is usually fatal to at least one party, often all parties. Rose felt Ash's presence surge with distress. The dragon had been listening somehow, understanding the danger. She sent back what she hoped were calming thoughts. To her surprise, Ash responded, a pulse of gratitude and protectiveness. He likes me, Rose said softly. Stellan nodded. He's never liked anyone except me. Dragons are particular about their bonds. The fact that he chose you means something. I just don't know what yet. Over the next 3 days, Rose and Stellan developed a strange routine. He would visit in the early mornings before court duties, bringing books and documents that Elder Mora had discovered. Together they would study the fragmentary records of the old world, piecing together what life had been like when bonds were common. The history amazed Rose. Humans and Asharans had built cities together, their different strengths complementing each other. Asharans provided magic and telepathy. Humans provided something the text called anchor strength, a resistance to magical corruption that kept Asharan society stable. The dragons had been the bridge between species, choosing partners from both groups and creating bonds that merged the best qualities of each. We were better together, Rose said one morning, looking at an illustration of a mixed council. Humans and Asharans sat in a circle, dragons perched behind their partners. We could be again, Stellan replied. Then he seemed to catch himself. Not that I'm suggesting revolution. That would be insane. But Rose had felt the spark of hope through their bond. He wanted change. He was just too afraid to say it aloud. On the 4th day, everything shifted. Rose woke to angry voices outside her room. She recognized the Empress's cold, commanding tone. She has contaminated the royal bloodline. Every moment she lives is a threat to the throne. Mother, please. Just give me more time to research, no more time. The council has voted. The human will be executed at dawn. Rose's door burst open. Guards rushed in, grabbing her arms before she could react. Stellan tried to intervene, but more guards held him back. Let her go, he shouted. The Empress entered, tall and terrible in her fury. Her resemblance to Stellan was clear, but where he had warmth buried beneath duty, she had only ice. You forget yourself, my son. She is property. Dangerous property that must be disposed of. Rose felt Ash's rage explode through the bond. Somewhere in the palace, the dragon roared. The sound shook the walls. Several guards flinched. You'll kill Ash too if you break the bond violently, Stellan warned. Is that what you want? To murder your son's dragon? The Empress's expression flickered. Elder Mora says there are ways to sever the connection safely. The dragon will survive. You will survive. Only the human must die. They dragged Rose from the room. She didn't struggle. What would be the point? But through the bond, she reached for Ash, trying to comfort him even as terror flooded her own mind. The dragon's emotions were overwhelming. Rage, grief, determination. He was coming for her. Stellan's presence pressed against her thoughts. Stay strong. I'll find a way. Rose wanted to believe him, but she'd seen the look in the Empress's eyes. This woman would not be swayed by sentiment or reason. She saw Rose as a threat to everything she'd built her life around, and threats had to be eliminated. They took Rose to the lower levels of the palace to cells she hadn't known existed. The stone walls were covered in strange symbols that made her skin crawl. Magic suppression runes, she guessed. They wanted to make sure she couldn't call for help, but the bond didn't work through magic, not exactly. It was something deeper, more fundamental. Even in the cell, with heavy doors locked between them, Rose felt Ash clearly. And she felt Stellan's desperate planning as he searched for some way to save her. Hours passed. Rose tried to sleep but couldn't. She kept seeing images that weren't hers. Memories from Ash, she realized. Ancient memories from before the dragon bonded with Stellan. Memories of other humans, other bonds, a world where this would have been celebrated instead of punished. One memory stood out. A young human woman stood beside an Asheron man, a dragon perched between them. They faced down an angry crowd. The woman spoke words Rose couldn't hear, but the emotion was clear. Defiance, pride. The absolute certainty that what they shared was right, no matter what others said. Rose held on to that memory as footsteps approached her cell. The door opened to reveal not guards, but a hooded figure. They moved quickly, placing a finger to their lips in a gesture for silence. Follow me, the figure whispered. We don't have much time, Rose hesitated. This could be a trick, but she felt no deception through the bond, and Stellan's presence surged with cautious hope. She followed. The hooded figure led her through narrow passages that wound deep into the palace foundations. They moved in darkness, the only light coming from the figure's small hand torch. Finally, they emerged into a hidden library. Elder Mora waited there along with two other Asherons Rose didn't recognize, and standing beside them, looking disheveled and determined, was Prince Stellan. You came, Rose breathed. I gave my word. He turned to Elder Mora. Tell her what you told me. The elderly scholar gestured to the books spread across the table. I found more records. Hidden records that my order has preserved for centuries. We've been waiting for this moment. What moment? Rose asked. The return of the true bonds. You're not an accident, child. You're proof that the spell is weakening. More humans are coming to Ashara from Earth every year. Eventually, others will bond like you did. The Empress can kill you, but she can't stop what's coming. One of the other Asharans stepped forward, lowering their hood. It was Princess Nova, Stellan's younger sister. She looked frightened but resolute. We're forming a resistance, Nova said quietly. Asharans who know the truth. Humans who are ready to fight for their rights. We can't let you die, Rose. Your bond is the proof we need that everything we were taught is a lie. But we have to move carefully. The Empress has the military, the council, the majority of the noble houses. Rose looked at Stellan. You're risking everything for this. I'm risking everything for what's right. I've spent my whole life believing humans were inferior. One bond showed me how wrong I was. How wrong we've all been. He took her hand carefully, mindful of the healed bite marks. I won't let fear make me a monster like my ancestors. Through the bond, Rose felt his sincerity. But she also felt his doubt. He didn't know if they could win. None of them did. Elder Mora began pulling more books from hidden compartments. We need to document everything about your bond. How it formed, what you can sense, what abilities it might grant you. The original bonds gave humans access to magic and gave Asherans emotional depth they otherwise lacked. If your bond follows the same pattern, a bell tolled above them. 3 deep, resonant notes. Elder Mora's face went pale. "What is that?" Rose asked. "The Empress has discovered you're missing. She's calling the palace guard to full alert." Nova grabbed a bag from the corner. "We need to leave now. I have a ship ready." "We can't run," Stellan said. "They'll hunt us across the Empire." "So we fight," Rose said quietly. Everyone turned to look at her. She felt Ash's agreement through the bond, a fierce joy at the prospect of action. "If we run, we lose. They'll tell everyone I was a criminal, a threat, whatever story serves them. But if we stay and stand our ground, if we make them confront the truth publicly, they'll kill you," Stellan said flatly. "Maybe, but I didn't survive that bite just to spend the rest of my life hiding." Rose looked at each of them in turn. "You said others will bond eventually. When they do, they'll need to know it's possible to fight back. Let me be that example." Elder Mora smiled sadly. "Spoken like a true bond partner. Very well, we make our stand, but not here in secret. If we're going to challenge 3,000 years of lies, we do it where everyone can see." Princess Nova's eyes widened. "You mean, yes, the throne room. Tomorrow at court, we present Rose's bond to the full council and let them try to deny what their own eyes can see." Stellan gripped Rose's hand tighter. Through the bond, she felt his fear for her warring with his pride. He was falling in love with her, she realized. Not just because of the bond, but because of who she was choosing to be in this moment. Rose sent back her own feelings, too complex for words but clear in their meaning. Whatever happened tomorrow, they would face it together. The palace might silence them, but they would make sure the truth was heard first. Rose never expected to attend court. Even after days of planning with Elder Mora and the others, the reality felt surreal. She stood in a preparation chamber wearing borrowed clothes that marked her as something between servant and noble, a visual statement of the impossible position she occupied. Princess Nova had chosen them carefully, simple but dignified, refusing to let the council see Rose as property. "You don't have to do this," Stellan said for the 10th time. He leaned against the wall, arms crossed, trying to appear calm. Through their bond, Rose felt his anxiety like static electricity. "Yes, I do. We've been over this. They could order your execution right there in the throne room. My mother is furious enough to do it." Rose adjusted the collar of her tunic. "Then Ash will be furious too. I felt him last night. He's ready to burn down the palace if they hurt me." "That's not comforting. It's not meant to be. It's reality." Rose turned to face him. "Your family has been lying for 3,000 years. Sometimes the truth hurts." Elder Mora entered carrying a worn leather case. "I have the documents ready. The original texts, or what remains of them. Chemical analysis confirms they're genuine artifacts from before the silence. The council won't be able to dismiss them as forgeries." She paused, studying Rose with those ancient eyes. "Are you afraid, child?" "Terrified," Rose admitted. "But I've been afraid every day since I came to Ashara. At least now I'm afraid while doing something that matters." The elder smiled. "Your bond sister from 3 millennia ago would be proud. She stood in that same throne room and spoke truth to power. They executed her for it." "Encouraging," Rose muttered, but her words lived on. "My order preserved them. And eventually those words became seeds, small acts of resistance, hidden records, parents whispering truth to their children in the dark." Elder Mora placed a gentle hand on Rose's shoulder. "You're not the first to fight this battle. You're just the first in a very long time to have a real chance of winning." Stellan pushed off from the wall. "It's time. The council is assembled." They walked through the palace corridors in a strange procession. Stellan led, his formal crown prince robes making him look every inch the royal heir. Rose followed, flanked by Elder Mora on one side and Princess Nova on the other. A small group of sympathetic Asharans trailed behind, scholars and minor nobles who had agreed to stand witness. Palace guards lined their route, faces carefully neutral. Rose wondered how many of them knew what was happening. How many would support the Empress without question? How many might secretly hope for change? The throne room doors loomed ahead, massive panels of carved crystal that caught the light and threw rainbows across the floor. 2 guards pulled them open, and suddenly Rose was staring at the heart of Asharan power. The room was enormous, designed to make visitors feel small. Hundreds of nobles filled the tiered seating, their expensive clothes and jewels glittering like stars. At the far end, the emperor and empress sat on twin thrones of black stone. The emperor looked old and tired. The empress looked like winter given form, cold and deadly. Silence fell as Rose's group entered. She felt hundreds of eyes tracking her movement. Whispers rippled through the crowd. A human in court, a human walking freely, a human standing beside the crown prince as if she had every right to be there. Stellan led them to the center of the room, to a space where a speaker could address both the thrones and the assembled nobles. He bowed to his parents, a gesture of respect that couldn't hide the tension in his shoulders. Your Majesty's honored council, I have called this emergency session to present evidence of the highest importance. His voice rang clear in the vast space, evidence that concerns the very foundation of our empire. The emperor leaned forward. Stellan, we discussed this. The human should not be here. Her name is Rose Collins, father, and she has every right to be here. More right than most, in fact. The empress's lips thinned. You're making a fool of yourself over a servant who happened to survive a dragon bite. It's an anomaly, nothing more. It's proof, Stellan countered. Proof that everything we've been taught about human inferiority is a lie. Gasps echoed through the chamber. Several nobles stood shouting objections. The emperor raised his hand for silence. Those are dangerous words, my son. Truth is often dangerous. That doesn't make it less true. Stellan gestured to Elder Mora, who stepped forward with her case. The elderly scholar bowed deeply. Your Majesties, I have served the Royal Archives for 60 years. In that time, I have discovered documents that the Empire tried to destroy. Documents that prove humans and Asharans once ruled as equals, bonded together through dragons. Fairy tales, the Empress said dismissively. Children's stories. These texts are 3,000 years old, carbon dated, verified by independent scholars. Elder Mora began laying documents on the presentation table. They described the silence, the magical working that severed bonds between humans and dragons. They named the perpetrators. Your ancestors, Your Majesty. The room erupted in chaos. Nobles shouted at each other. Some demanded Elder Mora be arrested for treason. Others called for the documents to be examined. The Emperor hammered his staff against the floor, the sound echoing like thunder. Enough! We will have order! Into the tense silence, Rose felt Ash approaching. The dragon's presence grew stronger in her mind, a rising tide of determination. She glanced at Stellan, who nodded slightly. They had planned this moment together. If you won't believe the documents, Rose said, her voice steady despite her fear, then believe your own eyes. She walked to the center of the room and raised her scarred hand. The bite marks gleamed silver in the light. Then she closed her eyes and reached for Ash through the bond, calling him the way she'd practiced in secret over the past few days. The crystal dome above the throne room shattered. Ash descended in a shower of glittering fragments, his wings spread wide, his scales reflecting light like a living rainbow. He landed beside Rose with earth-shaking force, sending nobles scrambling backward. Several guards drew weapons but froze when the dragon growled, a sound that promised violence. Ash lowered his massive head and nuzzled Rose's shoulder gently. She stroked his snout, feeling his satisfaction through the bond. Then she turned to face the thrones. I'm human. I was born on Earth. I came to Ashara as an adult. Your spell never touched me. When Ash bit me, he was trying to form the bond that his instincts told him was possible. The bond that your ancestors stole from my people 3,000 years ago. The Empress stood, her face twisted with fury. This is obscene. She's using dark magic to control the prince's dragon. She's not controlling anything, Stellan said, moving to stand beside Rose. I can feel Ash's emotions through our original bond. He chose her freely. He wants to protect her. And through her, I can feel things I never imagined. Emotions that were closed to me before. She completes the bond in ways I didn't know were missing. He took Rose's hand, and where their skin touched, light flared golden. The bond made visible, undeniable proof that something impossible was happening. Princess Nova stepped forward. I've studied the ancient texts too. Three-way bonds were rare but powerful. They created the greatest leaders of the old empire. Rulers who could think with both Asheran logic and human passion, who could wield magic and remain grounded in reality. We didn't lose that power through evolution or divine will. We stole it through fear and ambition. A noble in the front row stood. Rose recognized him as Lord Petros, one of the wealthiest landowners in the empire. Even if this is true, what does it matter now? That was 3,000 years ago. The humans today are happy in their roles. Why disturb a system that works? Works for who? Rose asked. She felt anger rising, fed by Ash's protective instincts and Stellan's suppressed rage. I came to Ashara looking for a better life. Instead, I found a place where I couldn't speak without permission, couldn't advance no matter how hard I worked, couldn't even walk through certain parts of the city without risking arrest. You call that working? Humans are given food, shelter, employment. Slaves are given those things too. That doesn't make slavery right. The word hung in the air like a blade. Several nobles looked uncomfortable. Others glared at Rose with undisguised hatred. The Emperor finally spoke, his voice weary. Let us say, for the sake of argument, that these documents are real, that our ancestors did engineer the silence, that bonds are possible. What would you have us do? Tear down our entire society? Plunge the empire into civil war? No, Elder Mora said. But we can begin making amends. Remove the silence spell from human children. Let bonds form naturally. Establish equal rights under law. It won't be fast, but it can be peaceful. It can never be peaceful, the Empress said coldly. The moment humans gain power, they'll seek revenge for their treatment. They'll tear us down. Better to maintain the order we have than risk chaos. That's fear talking, Stellan said. The same fear that drove the silence in the first place. Our ancestors were afraid of sharing power, so they took it all. Look where that's led us. A civilization built on lies, sustained through oppression. Is that really the legacy we want to leave? Rose felt something shift in the room. Not all the nobles were hostile. Some looked thoughtful. Others seemed troubled. The Emperor himself appeared conflicted, as if hearing doubts he'd suppressed for years. Then disaster struck. A noble in the back row stood abruptly, raised a small device, and fired. Rose didn't even see the energy bolt coming. She felt Ash's sudden terror through the bond, felt Stellan throw himself forward, and then pain exploded in her chest. She fell backward, the world spinning. Ash roared, a sound of pure anguish. The assassin tried to fire again, but the dragon was already moving. He covered the distance in a single bound and crushed the noble with one massive claw. Blood sprayed across crystal walls. Rose couldn't breathe. Her chest felt like it was caving in. She heard Stellan screaming her name, felt his hands pressing against her wound, but everything seemed distant. The bond flickered, weakening. No, she wasn't ready to die. Not yet, not when they'd come so far. She reached deep into the bond, past Ash's panic and Stellan's grief, searching for something she'd felt in the ancient memories. Power. The old bonds had granted humans access to magic through their dragon partners. If those memories were true, if the bond could really do what the texts claimed, then she could heal herself. Rose found the connection and pulled. Energy flooded into her body, warm and electric. Her wound began to glow the same golden color as when Ash first bit her. The pain receded. She felt tissue knitting together, bones mending, organs repairing themselves. Stellan gasped. Rose? She opened her eyes. The throne room had gone utterly silent. Every person there was staring at her with expressions ranging from awe to terror. She sat up slowly, her borrowed clothes torn and bloody, but the skin beneath whole and unmarked. That's impossible, someone whispered. Rose stood, swaying slightly. Ash pressed against her side, supporting her. She looked at the Empress, who had gone pale as snow. Your assassin failed. So did your ancestors in the end. You can't kill the truth. You can only delay it. Rose's voice came out stronger than she felt. The bonds are returning whether you accept it or not. The only question is whether the Empire adapts or dies. The Emperor rose from his throne. For a long moment he said nothing. Then slowly he began to clap. The sound echoed strangely in the vast room. Other nobles hesitantly joined him. Not all, but enough. Remarkable, the Emperor said. I've lived 200 years and never seen anything like this. Perhaps it is time we examined our history more honestly. The Empress grabbed his arm. You can't be serious. I'm tired, my dear. Tired of maintaining lies. If this human can survive an assassination and heal herself with dragon magic, then clearly she's more than we believed humans capable of being. He turned to Stellan. You wanted time to understand the bond. You have it. 6 months. Prove to me that this can work without destroying everything we've built. It wasn't the victory Rose had hoped for, but it was a chance. And sometimes that's all anyone could ask for. Rose discovered that being famous was significantly worse than being invisible. 3 weeks after her dramatic display in the throne room, she couldn't walk through the palace without drawing stares. Some were curious, others were hostile. A few were desperately hopeful, and those were somehow the hardest to bear. She stood now in what had become her regular quarters, a suite of rooms that Stellan had insisted she needed for security. The irony wasn't lost on her. Weeks ago, she'd shared a cramped dormitory with a dozen other human workers. Now she had space she didn't need and couldn't enjoy because guards watched her every move. A knock at the door interrupted her brooding. Princess Nova entered without waiting for permission, carrying a data tablet and wearing an expression of barely controlled excitement. "You need to see this," Nova said, thrusting the tablet toward Rose. "The immigration records from the past month." Rose scanned the document. Numbers. Lots of numbers. "I don't understand." "Human arrivals from Earth have increased by 40%. Word is spreading that something's different here. That opportunities are opening up." Nova's eyes gleamed. "More importantly, 3 more bonding incidents have been reported. All humans who came from Earth as adults. All with dragons whose Asheran partners died or released them." Rose felt her heart race. 3 more? In 3 weeks? The silence only affects humans born here. Every human immigrant is a potential bond partner. The dragons are responding to that. Nova pulled up another file. The Empress is trying to suppress the information, but it's leaking. Human workers are talking. Some Asheran families who lost dragons are seeking human companions for them. That's incredible. It's also dangerous. The conservative faction is organizing. They're calling your bond an abomination. There's talk of passing laws to ban dragon contact with humans entirely. Nova's expression darkened. And then there's the engagement. Rose set the tablet down carefully.
"I heard. It's not what Stellan wants. I know what he wants."
"I can feel it." Rose touched her chest where the bond hummed constantly. "But he's a prince. He has duties." The engagement to Lady Cressida had been announced 2 weeks ago, an obvious move by the Empress to reassert control over her wayward son. The wedding was set for 2 months away, a grand ceremony designed to demonstrate that the natural order still held. Asherans married Asherans. Humans stayed in their place. Through the bond, Rose felt Stellan's approach before he entered. His emotional state was stormy. Frustration and resignation mixed with deeper currents she didn't want to examine too closely. "We need to talk," he said, glancing at Nova. Privately, Nova made a discreet exit. Stellan waited until the door closed before speaking again. "The Emperor is hosting a ball next week to celebrate the engagement. You're required to attend." Rose laughed bitterly. "As what, entertainment? The performing human who can do magic tricks? As my guest." "The Emperor's orders. He wants to show everyone that you're not a threat, that you can be civilized, that the bond doesn't change anything fundamental." Stellan moved to the window, staring out at the city. "It's a test. If you can navigate high society, if you can demonstrate restraint and grace, it strengthens our position. And if I can't, then it gives the conservatives ammunition to argue that humans can't be trusted with power." Rose joined him at the window. The city spread below them, glittering spires and flowing gardens. Somewhere down there, human workers scrubbed floors and carried packages and dreamed of impossible futures. She owed them more than her pride. "I'll go, but I'll need help. I don't know how to act at an Asheran ball." Stellan finally looked at her, and the sadness in his eyes made her chest ache. "I'll teach you. We have a week." The next 7 days were brutal. Stellan drilled Rose in etiquette until she could navigate a formal dinner in her sleep. Nova provided appropriate clothing, elegant but not ostentatious. Elder Mora taught her which nobles were sympathetic and which were looking for excuses to discredit her. Through it all, Rose felt the bond with Stellan growing stronger and more complicated. They spent hours together each day, and every moment made it harder to remember that he was promised to someone else. She felt his attraction through the connection, his growing realization that what they shared went beyond the dragon's magic. But she also felt his duty, the weight of generations of expectations. The night of the ball arrived with cruel swiftness. Rose stood in front of a mirror, barely recognizing herself. The dress Nova had chosen was beautiful, deep green that somehow matched both her eyes and Ash's scales. Her hair was arranged in an elaborate style that had taken 2 servants an hour to create. "You look like a princess," Nova said approvingly. I look like an imposter, Rose corrected. Same thing, really. Most of us are just pretending we know what we're doing. Stellan arrived to escort her, magnificent in formal robes that emphasized his royal status. He offered his arm without a word. Rose took it, feeling the familiar jolt of connection where their skin touched. They descended to the grand ballroom together. Music swelled as they entered, and Rose fought the urge to turn and run. Hundreds of Asherans filled the space, all of them stopping to stare at the human on the prince's arm. She felt their judgment like a physical weight. Lady Cressida stood near the center of the room, surrounded by well-wishers. She was stunning in the way Asherans always were, with silver-blue skin and eyes like amethysts. When she saw Stellan and Rose, her expression flickered with something complicated, before settling into practiced courtesy. "Your Highness," Cressida said, gliding over, "and the famous Rose Collins. I've wanted to meet you properly." Rose bowed, remembering her training. "Lady Cressida, congratulations on your engagement, thank you. Though I suspect this arrangement is more political than romantic." Cressida's eyes held understanding. "I'm not blind to the situation, or to what you and Stellan share." The honesty caught Rose off guard. "I don't want to cause you pain." "Pain was inevitable the moment my family agreed to this match. At least you're honest about it." Cressida glanced at Stellan.
May I speak with Rose alone for a moment?
Stellan looked uncomfortable but nodded. He moved away to greet other nobles, though Rose felt his attention remained fixed on her through the bond. Cressida led Rose to a quieter corner of the ballroom. "I need you to understand something. I don't hate you. If anything, I admire your courage. But I also can't refuse this marriage. My family's position depends on it. I understand duty. Do you? I wonder." Cressida's voice remained soft, but there was steel beneath. "You have the luxury of fighting for what you want. I don't, so when you stand beside Stellan, when you touch him and everyone can see the bond glow between you, when you make it painfully obvious that he's falling in love with you, remember that you're not just hurting me. You're destabilizing the political alliances that keep this empire functioning." Rose felt shame burn through her. "I didn't ask for this bond." "No, but you're choosing how to use it. Just remember that choices have consequences." Cressida's expression softened slightly. "For what it's worth, I hope your reforms succeed. The human situation is unjust, but change is expensive and sometimes people like me pay the price." She walked away, leaving Rose feeling small and selfish. Through the bond, she felt Stellan's concern, but she pushed him away. She needed to think. The evening progressed like a dance through hostile territory. Rose made conversation with nobles who smiled while insulting her. She endured questions about her bond that ranged from curious to cruel. She watched Stellan and Cressida perform the roles expected of them, the perfect aristocratic couple. Then the attack came. Not with weapons this time, but with words. Lord Petros, the wealthy landowner who had challenged Rose in the throne room, stood and called for attention. "Your Majesty's honored guests, I have information that must be shared." He gestured dramatically. "Our investigations have uncovered evidence that Elder Mora and her so-called scholarly order have been manipulating documents. The texts she presented were forgeries designed to destabilize our empire." Gasps rippled through the crowd. Rose felt ice in her stomach. She looked at Elder Mora, who sat among the scholars section looking pale but defiant. "That's a lie," the elder said, standing slowly. "Those texts have been verified by independent analysis. Analysis conducted by your allies." "Hardly independent," Lord Petros smiled coldly. "We demand that all documents be turned over to a neutral committee for examination. Until then, we must assume that the entire bond narrative is fabricated. A conspiracy to elevate humans through deception rather than merit." The ballroom erupted in argument. Rose felt Stellan's fury through the bond, but he couldn't defend Elder Mora without appearing biased. This was exactly the kind of political warfare that Rose didn't know how to fight. Then she felt it, a presence at the edge of her consciousness, vast and ancient. Not Ash, though he was there too. Something older. She turned toward the ballroom's massive windows, dragons, dozens of them circling the palace in the night sky. Their combined presence pressed against her mind like thunder. Rose walked to the window, ignoring the stares. She reached out through the bond, not just to Ash, but to all of them. To her shock, they responded. Images flooded her mind. Memories older than the Asharan Empire. Truth that couldn't be forged or manipulated. They know. Rose said softly. Then louder, "The dragons know." Stellan was beside her instantly. "What are you talking about?" The dragons remember. They were there during the silence. They remember when the bonds were severed, when their partners screamed and died. They remember 3,000 years of grief. Rose turned to face the crowd.
You want proof?
Ask them yourselves. She didn't know if it would work. The bond between her and Ash was unique, but the dragons were responding to something, drawn by the return of what they'd lost. Ash crashed through the window in a shower of crystal. Other dragons followed, filling the ballroom with massive scaled bodies and wings. Nobles screamed and scattered. Guards raised weapons but froze when the dragons growled in unison. Grandmother Flame, the ancient dragon Rose had only heard about, landed directly in front of the thrones. She was enormous, her scales white as bone, her eyes holding the weight of centuries. When she spoke, everyone heard it. Not with ears, but directly in their minds, the girl speaks truth. We remember. We remember the pain of severed bonds. We remember our partners dying in agony while we survived. We remember the ones who did this. She turned her massive head toward the Empress. Your bloodline, your ancestors, they stole our purpose and called it progress. The Emperor stood, his face ashen. The dragons never spoke of this. We were forbidden by the same magic that silenced the human bonds. But that magic weakens now. Every human who comes from Earth breaks it further. Soon it will fail completely, and truth will flood back like water through a broken dam. Lord Petros tried one final gambit. Even if this is true, it changes nothing. We cannot undo 3,000 years of history. Grandmother Flame's laugh was like rocks grinding together. Cannot or will not. The girl survived death itself through her bond. Others will follow. You can accept this and adapt, or you can fight it and be destroyed. But you cannot stop what has already begun. The ancient dragon turned to Rose. You have been given a great gift, child. Use it wisely. The path ahead will be difficult. Many will suffer before balance is restored. But know this. The dragons will stand with those who honor the true bonds. We will not be silenced again. Then, as suddenly as they'd come, the dragons departed. They flowed through windows and doors like living water, taking flight into the night sky. Only Ash remained, pressing his head against Rose's shoulder in a gesture of comfort and solidarity. The ballroom stood in ruins, crystal and furniture scattered, nobles huddled in shocked clusters. The Emperor slowly sat back down, looking older than Rose had ever seen him. It seems, he said finally, that we have been judged by those we thought were ours to command. The question now is what we do about it. The Empress said nothing, but the look she gave Rose promised that this battle was far from over. Rose met her gaze steadily. She had the dragon's support now. That changed everything. Stellan took her hand, squeezing gently. Through the bond, she felt his pride and fear in equal measure. They had won tonight, but the cost was yet to be calculated. Lady Cressida approached slowly, her beautiful dress torn and dusty. Well, I suppose that settles the authenticity question. She looked between Rose and Stellan. For what it's worth, I'm releasing you from our engagement, Your Highness. I may not be brave enough to fight the system, but I'm not cruel enough to trap you in a loveless marriage when you've clearly found your bond match. Cressida, you don't have to. Yes, I do. Consider it my contribution to the revolution. She smiled sadly. Besides, I suspect my family will want to distance themselves from the royal line anyway, given how tonight went. She walked away with her head held high. Rose felt a surge of respect for the woman, trapped by circumstance but refusing to be petty about it. The ball was officially over, though no one had formally declared it. Nobles filtered out in small groups, whispering urgently. Rose knew those whispers would spread like wildfire. By morning, the entire empire would know that dragons had taken sides. What happens now? Rose asked. Stellan pulled her close, not caring who saw. Now we prepare for war. Not with weapons, hopefully, but war nonetheless. My mother won't accept this quietly. Through the bond, Ash rumbled agreement. The dragon had tasted victory tonight, and he was eager for more. Rose looked up at the broken windows, at the night sky where dragons still circled. She thought about what Grandmother Flame had said. Many will suffer before balance is restored. She just hoped she was strong enough to help carry that burden. Dawn broke over a city that hadn't slept. Rose stood on her balcony watching crowds gather in the streets below. Humans mostly, though she spotted scattered Asherans among them. Word of the dragon's declaration had spread faster than anyone anticipated. Now people wanted answers. Master Greaves appeared in her doorway, looking exhausted. The old steward had spent the night coordinating with human workers throughout the palace. There's a situation developing. Define situation. Every human in the palace's service wing has stopped working. They're asking to speak with you. Rose's stomach dropped. They think I'm their leader now. You survived death. You commanded dragons. You stood up to the Empress in front of the entire court. Greaves smiled wearily. What did you expect? Before Rose could answer, Stellan burst in, still wearing his formal clothes from the ball. Through the bond, she felt his agitation before he spoke. The Empress is moving against us. She's declared a state of emergency and recalled the military from border positions. She's claiming the dragon incident was an attack on the imperial family. That's insane. That's politics. She's framing this as external aggression to justify a crackdown. Stellan ran his hands through his disheveled hair. My father is too weak to stop her. She's always been the real power behind the throne. Princess Nova arrived moments later, followed by Elder Mora and several other members of their growing resistance. The small room felt suddenly cramped with people and tension. The conservative nobles are organizing, Nova reported. They're calling for your arrest, Rose. They want you tried for sedition and manipulation of royal dragons. On what evidence? They don't need evidence. They have fear. Elder Mora looked grim. Fear is always enough. A massive roar split the morning air. Through the windows, Rose saw Ash circling the palace, his calls echoed by dozens of other dragons. The message was clear. They were watching. They would not stand by if Rose was harmed, but that protection cut both ways. The Empress could use the dragon's presence as proof of the threat Rose represented. Already guards were being deployed throughout the city, not to maintain peace but to demonstrate strength. We need to get ahead of this, Stellan said. If we let the Empress control the narrative, we lose. So we create our own narrative, Rose said slowly. An idea was forming, dangerous but potentially powerful. The humans have stopped working. What if I go down there and talk to them? Publicly. Let everyone see that this isn't about violence or revenge. It's about people wanting dignity. The moment you step outside this room, you're vulnerable, Nova warned. The Empress will send assassins. You barely survived the last one. I have the bond now. I can heal myself. And I'll have Ash. It's still a massive risk. Rose looked at each of them in turn. Everything we've done has been a risk. But we can't hide in here while the city tears itself apart. Someone has to speak for the humans who don't have voices. Stellan grabbed her hand. Then I'm coming with you. That makes you a target too. I've been a target since I defended you in the throne room. At least this way we face it together. They descended through the palace, gathering followers as they went. Human servants joined them, emboldened by Rose's presence. Sympathetic Asherans added their support. By the time they reached the main gates, they had become a procession. The palace guard tried to stop them. Captain Loris, a stern woman who had always treated humans fairly, stepped forward with her hand on her weapon. I have orders to detain you, Collins. From the Empress? Yes, Rose met her eyes steadily. Are those orders you want to follow? Loris hesitated. Through the bond, Rose felt Ash's protective fury building. The dragon perched on the palace wall above them, ready to strike if anyone threatened her. My job is to protect the Empire, Loris said finally. Then let us pass. Because right now, the Empire's biggest threat isn't me. It's the lies we've been living with for 3,000 years. For a long moment, no one moved. Then Loris stepped aside. I didn't see you leave. They emerged into chaos. The square outside the palace was packed with people, thousands of them. Humans predominantly, but also Asherans who looked curious or sympathetic or simply confused. News drones floated overhead, broadcasting everything to the entire Empire. Rose climbed onto a fountain's edge so everyone could see her. Her legs shook with fear, but she forced herself to stand tall. Stellan stood beside her, a visible symbol of the alliance they represented. I'm Rose Collins, she called out. Her voice sounded thin against the crowd noise, but people were quieting, straining to hear. 3 weeks ago I was a maid. Nobody important. Nobody powerful. Just another human trying to survive in a world that told me I was lesser. The crowd murmured. She felt their attention lock onto her. Then a dragon bit me and everything changed. Not just for me, but for all of us. Because that bite proved something the Empire has been hiding for 3,000 years. Humans aren't inferior. We never were. We were deliberately suppressed. Our potential was stolen before we were even born. The silence. Someone shouted from the crowd. Rose nodded. The silence. A spell cast on every human child born on this world, preventing them from forming bonds with dragons, preventing them from accessing their full abilities. It was done by Asheron ancestors who feared equality, who wanted all power for themselves. Angry voices rose. Rose raised her hands for quiet. But I'm not here to call for revenge. I'm here to ask for something harder. Change. Real change. Not tearing down the empire, but rebuilding it into something better. Something where humans and Asheron stand as equals, where bonds form freely, where no one is judged as lesser because of what species they were born into. Why should we trust Asherons? A human woman shouted. They've been lying to us for centuries. Not all of them. Rose gestured to Stellan. Prince Stellan risked everything to stand with me. Princess Nova and Elder Mora have been working in secret for years to preserve the truth. Captain Loris just disobeyed direct orders to let us speak. Change is already happening. The question is whether we embrace it or destroy each other fighting about it. An older Asheron man pushed to the front of the crowd. And what about us? My family has employed human workers for generations. We've treated them well, given them fair wages. Are we supposed to just accept being called oppressors? Rose looked at him directly. Being part of a broken system doesn't make you evil, but recognizing that the system is broken and refusing to change it does. Your workers probably are grateful for fair treatment. Imagine how much more they could achieve if given full equality. This is treason, another voice sharp with anger. A noblewoman Rose didn't recognize. You're advocating for the destruction of our social order. I'm advocating for justice. If your social order can't survive justice, then maybe it deserves to be destroyed. The crowd erupted in cheers and shouts, some supportive, others furious. Rose felt the mood turning volatile. Through the bond, she felt Stellan's warning. This could turn into a riot fast. Then military vehicles appeared at the square's edges. Not palace guards, but actual military, heavily armed. The Empress's response. Rose's heart hammered as soldiers began deploying, creating a perimeter around the crowd. Disperse immediately, a voice boomed through speakers. This gathering is illegal under emergency decree. Anyone who doesn't leave will be arrested. People began to panic, pushing in different directions. Rose saw humans being knocked down in the crush. An elderly Asheron fell, nearly trampled. This was exactly what the Empress wanted. Chaos to justify violent suppression. Rose reached for Ash through the bond. The dragon responded instantly, diving from his perch and landing in the center of the square. His presence forced people to still. Then he did something Rose hadn't asked for but desperately needed. He roared, not in anger but in command. Every dragon in the sky echoed him. The sound froze everyone in place. Soldiers, civilians, nobles, everyone stood transfixed by the overwhelming presence of dragon authority. Into the silence, Grandmother Flame descended. The ancient dragon landed beside Ash, her white scales gleaming in the morning sun. When she spoke, her voice filled every mind present. This gathering is not illegal. It is necessary. The Empress claims emergency powers, but dragons answer to no Asheron authority. We were here before your empire existed. We will be here after it falls. And we say that these people have the right to speak. A military commander stepped forward. With respect, Elder Dragon, the Empress fears losing power she gained through violence and deception. Grandmother Flame's mental voice was cold as stone. We dragons allowed the silence because we were forced to, because magic bound us, but that magic weakens with every human who arrives from Earth. Soon it will break entirely. The Empress can accept this transition peacefully, or she can fight it and watch her empire burn. Those are her only options. Rose felt the shift in the crowd. Hope blooming among humans, uncertainty among Asherons. The military commander looked uncertain, clearly not prepared for dragons to actively defy imperial authority. The Empress will not negotiate with rebels, the commander said, but his voice lacked conviction. Then let her come tell us herself, Rose said. She felt reckless, powered by adrenaline and the bond's energy. Let her stand here and explain to all these people why their lives should remain small. Why 3,000 years of lies should continue. Let her face us. She will never. I am here. The voice cut like a blade. The crowd parted as the Empress strode forward, flanked by elite guards. She looked magnificent and terrifying in full imperial regalia, her face set in lines of absolute authority. She stopped directly in front of Rose and Stellan, ignoring the dragons entirely. You want to negotiate? Very well. I will give you a choice, girl. Leave Ashara forever. Return to Earth and never come back. Do this and I will grant amnesty to every human involved in today's demonstration. I will even consider reforms slowly and carefully implemented. Rose felt the temptation. She could end this now. Save lives. Let others fight the battle she'd started.
And if I refuse?
She asked. Then I will crush this rebellion with every resource at my disposal. Human blood will run in the streets. The sympathetic Asharans will be executed as traitors. And I will force Elder Mora to create a new silence stronger than before. That will work even on humans from Earth. You will condemn your entire species to permanent subjugation. Mother, you can't... Stellan started. Silence. This is between me and the human. The Empress's eyes bored into Rose. Choose. Your freedom for their future, or your pride for their destruction. Rose looked at the crowd around her, thousands of faces, human and Asharan alike, waiting to see what she would do. She felt Stellan's desperate plea through the bond, felt Ash's confusion and anger, felt the weight of responsibility crushing down on her shoulders. Then she thought about what Grandmother Flame had said. The magic was weakening. The silence would fail eventually, no matter what anyone did. The Empress was offering a false choice, trying to buy time to consolidate power. No, Rose said quietly. Then louder, no, I won't run. I won't let you pretend this is about me. This is about a system built on oppression, and it's coming down whether I'm here or not. The only question is how much damage you do trying to prevent the inevitable. The Empress's expression didn't change, but Rose felt cold certainty settle over the square. This was the moment everything turned truly dangerous. Then you have chosen destruction. Guards arrest everyone in this square, starting with the prince and the human. Guards move forward, weapons raised. The crowd screamed. Ash roared in fury, and Rose felt something inside her snap, releasing power she hadn't known she possessed. Golden light exploded from her body, from the bond marks on her hand spreading outward in waves. It washed over the guards, over the crowd, over the entire square. Where it touched, it carried a message. Not words, but pure emotion, truth, justice, connection. Every human in the square felt it. More than that, they felt what Rose felt through her bond. The love of a dragon, the loyalty of a prince, the ancient memories of a time when bonds made everyone stronger. And something impossible happened. The silence, weakened by Grandmother Flame's presence and Rose's power, shattered. Not completely, not permanently, but for this moment in this place, every human felt the call of dragons waiting to bond. The guards lowered their weapons, overwhelmed by the flood of emotion. Several dropped to their knees, crying. Even the Empress staggered back, her perfect control cracking. Rose swayed, exhausted by the effort. Stellan caught her before she fell. What did you do? He whispered. I showed them, Rose managed. Showed them what we could be. Together. Grandmother Flame's laugh echoed through every mind. Well done, child. You have given them a taste of truth. Now they will hunger for more. The Empress has already lost, though she doesn't know it yet. The ancient dragon spread her massive wings. The dragon's judgment is rendered. This empire will change. The only question is whether the change comes through wisdom or through fire. Choose carefully, Empress. We will not be patient forever. Then the dragons departed, leaving chaos and wonder in their wake. The Empress stood alone, her guards uncertain, her authority crumbling. She looked at Rose with hatred that could burn through steel. This isn't over, she said softly. No, Rose agreed. It's just beginning. 6 months passed like a storm. Rose barely recognized the world around her or the person she'd become. The empire hadn't collapsed, but it had fractured into 1,000 pieces that were slowly, painfully being reassembled into something new. She sat now in what had once been the throne room, though it looked nothing like the grand space where she'd first presented her bond to the court. The thrones had been removed. The tiered seating had been replaced with circular arrangements that put everyone on equal footing. The crystal dome, shattered by Ash's entrance months ago, had been rebuilt with transparent panels that let in natural light. This was the first meeting of the new council, a body that represented humans, Asharans, and even dragons through their bonded partners. It was messy, inefficient, and often descended into shouting matches. It was also the closest thing to democracy the Meridian Empire had ever known. Rose looked around the circle at faces that had become familiar. Master Greaves represented human workers, his weathered features showing exhaustion but also pride. Elder Mora spoke for the scholars and historians who were painstakingly reconstructing true history. Princess Nova had taken her father's place after the Emperor quietly abdicated, too weary to navigate the transition. And Stellan sat beside Rose, no longer crown prince but something harder to define: partner, co-leader, bond match. The latest census results are in, a human administrator named David reported. He'd been promoted from maintenance supervisor to head of human affairs, a position that hadn't existed 2 months ago. We've successfully removed the silence from 73% of human children born on Ashara. The process is slower than we'd like, but we're making progress. What about the resistance from conservative families? Nova asked. Still significant in the outer provinces. Some families are hiding their children to prevent the removal. They fear what bonded humans might become. Rose felt Ash's discontent through the bond. The dragon was perched on the roof above them, too large to fit inside but always present. Since the confrontation in the square, 47 new bonds had formed between humans and dragons. Each one was different, unique to the individuals involved, but they all shared the same fundamental truth. Together, humans and dragons created something greater than either could achieve alone. We can't force change on families that aren't ready, Rose said. That would make us as bad as the old regime. But we can ensure that every human has access to information about the silence and the right to choose removal for their children. Some will never choose it, Master Greaves said quietly. Fear runs deep. Then we prove them wrong by example. Every bonded human who achieves something remarkable, every partnership that enriches both species chips away at that fear. An Asheran noble named Lord Denner spoke up. He'd been neutral during the initial conflict, but had become increasingly supportive as he saw the benefits of integration. I have a proposal. My family has extensive holdings in the agricultural sector. I'd like to pilot a program where human workers are given full partnership rights, including profit sharing and decision-making authority. If it succeeds, other landowners might follow. That's generous, Nova said carefully. What changed your mind? Denner smiled slightly. My daughter bonded with a dragon last month. Her human partner is a former kitchen worker named Ruth. Watching them work together showed me what I'd been missing. Ruth has insights about crop management that my family never considered. Together they've increased our yield by 18% in just weeks. Rose felt hope kindle in her chest. These small stories scattered across the empire were the real revolution. Not grand speeches or dragon displays, but everyday people choosing connection over division. The council approves the pilot program, she said, looking around for objections. No one raised concerns. Lord Denner, please keep us updated on progress. The meeting continued for another hour, covering everything from educational reform to housing integration. It was exhausting work, each issue complicated by centuries of ingrained prejudice and practical barriers. But slowly, impossibly, progress was being made. After the session ended, Rose walked through the palace gardens with Stellan. It had become their routine, a brief respite from the constant demands of leadership. Ash soared overhead, occasionally diving low to show off his aerial skills. The Empress is still in the northern provinces, Stellan said quietly. Reports say she's gathering support among the most conservative families. How much support? Enough to be concerning. Not enough for open rebellion, but enough to cause problems. He took her hand, their bond marks glowing faintly where their skin touched. She won't forgive what happened. What we took from her. We didn't take anything. We revealed what she'd stolen from everyone else. Semantics won't protect us if she decides to strike. Rose knew he was right. The Empress had disappeared after the confrontation in the square, officially stepping down to allow Nova to lead the transition. But everyone knew she was simply regrouping, waiting for the right moment to reclaim power. They found Elder Mora in the archives, surrounded by documents as always. The elderly scholar looked up with tired eyes. I've been analyzing patterns in bond formation, she said without preamble. The dragons are choosing partners based on something more than simple compatibility. There's a strategy to it. What do you mean? Rose asked. Look at the distribution. Mora spread out a map marked with glowing points. Bonds are forming in key population centers, among humans in positions of influence or with specific skills. It's not random. The dragons are deliberately building a network. Stellan studied the map. They're creating a power structure that doesn't depend on traditional hierarchy. Exactly. Every bonded pair becomes a node of power that can't be controlled by the old system. If this continues, within a generation, the entire concept of Asheran supremacy becomes meaningless. The Empress must realize this too, Rose said. Oh, she does. Which is why I suspect she's planning something desperate. Mora pulled out another document. I've been investigating historical records of the original silence. The magic required to cast it was enormous, requiring the combined power of dozens of the strongest Asharan mages. But there are references to a failsafe. A failsafe? A way to reinforce the silence if it ever began to weaken. The texts are fragmentary, but they mention something called the Null Stone, an artifact that can amplify magical workings by a factor of hundreds. If the Empress has found it, she could theoretically recast the silence stronger than before. Rose felt ice in her stomach. That would sever all the new bonds, and prevent any future bonds from forming. It would reset everything to how it was, or worse. Where is this Null Stone? Mora shook her head. Lost, or so we thought. But I've been hearing rumors from my contacts in the northern provinces. The Empress has been conducting excavations at ancient sites that date back to the time of the original silence. Stellan's face had gone pale. We need to stop her. We need to find her first, Rose said. And we need to be smart about it. If we send military forces, it looks like oppression. If we do nothing, we risk losing everything we've gained. They spent the next few days planning. Nova used her intelligence network to track the Empress's movements. Master Greaves coordinated with human workers in the northern provinces, gathering information about the excavations, and Rose practiced with her bond abilities, pushing herself to understand the full extent of what she and Ash could do together. The breakthrough came from an unexpected source. A young human girl named Lily, recently bonded with a small green dragon named Whisper, came to Rose with information. My partner can sense the Null Stone, Lily said, her eyes wide with fear and excitement. All the dragons can. It's like a void in their awareness, a place where magic goes to die. Whisper says it's in the old mountain temple, 3 days' journey north. Rose felt Ash's confirmation through the bond. The dragon had been agitated for days, and now she understood why. He could sense the Null Stone too, a threat to everything dragons valued. We have to move now, Rose said to the others. Before the Empress can use it. Nova shook her head. You can't go personally. You're too valuable. If something happens to you, the entire movement loses its symbol. I'm not a symbol. I'm a person who can help stop this. You're both, Stellan said gently. But Nova's right. We should send a military force. No. Rose stood firm. This isn't about military might. It's about the bond. The Empress is trying to destroy bonds because she doesn't understand them. She needs to see what they really are, what they can accomplish. I need to be there. Through the bond, she felt Ash's agreement, and beneath that, she felt something else. Other dragons, many dragons waiting to support her. If I'm going, I won't be alone, Rose said. The dragons will come, and anyone who wants to stand for the bonds can come too, not as an army, but as witnesses. In the end, they organized a caravan. Not just Rose and Stellan, but dozens of bonded pairs, human and Asheran both. Master Greaves came, representing the unbonded humans who supported the cause. Nova stayed behind to maintain order in the capital. Elder Mora insisted on coming despite her age. They traveled north through increasingly hostile territory. Conservative strongholds where humans still served silently, and Asheran still ruled absolutely. Rose saw the fear in people's eyes when they looked at her caravan, at the dragons flying overhead. She also saw something else. Hope, curiosity, the beginning of doubt about everything they'd been taught. The temple emerged from mountain mists on the third day, ancient and forbidding. It had been built before the silence, a place where bonds were celebrated. Now it felt cold, corrupted by what the Empress intended to do there. They found her in the central chamber, surrounded by a circle of mages, all of them channeling power into a black stone that seemed to devour light. The Null Stone. Even looking at it made Rose feel sick, as if something vital was being pulled from her body. Stop this, Rose called out. Her voice echoed in the vast space. The Empress didn't turn. I wondered when you'd arrive. You're predictable, girl, always rushing in to save everyone. This won't work. You can't undo what's already begun, can I? This stone amplified the original silence. It will amplify the new one. Every bond will break. Every dragon will be severed from their human partner, and this time I'll make the spell permanent. No human from Earth or anywhere else will ever bond again. Rose felt Ash's pain through the bond. The dragon was trying to approach, but the Nullstone's influence pushed him back. All the dragons were struggling against it, held at bay by the artifact's dark power. "You'll kill them," Stellan said, stepping forward. "Breaking bonds violently is fatal. You'll murder dozens of innocents. A necessary sacrifice to preserve order. Some will die so that civilization can continue." The Empress finally turned, and Rose saw the desperation beneath her cold mask. "You think I'm a monster? I'm trying to prevent catastrophe. Every empire that fell to internal division, every civilization that destroyed itself did so because they abandoned hierarchy. Structure keeps us stable. Your bonds create chaos. They create connection," Rose said. "That's what terrifies you. Not the chaos, but the fact that connection undermines your control. Call it what you will. The spell is nearly ready. In moments, you'll lose everything you've gained. Your bond will break. You'll be a simple human again, and this dangerous dream will end." Rose felt the truth of it. The Nullstone's power was building, fed by the mage's combined efforts. In minutes, maybe less, it would discharge. The silence would spread across the empire, severing bonds, imprisoning human potential again. She looked at Stellan, at the love and fear in his eyes. Looked at the bonded pairs who had traveled with her, all of them facing the loss of something precious. Looked at Master Greaves and the unbonded humans who had hoped for a better future. Then she looked at Ash, struggling against the Nullstone's influence but refusing to flee. "I need you to trust me," she said through the bond. "All of you. Every dragon. Every bond. I need you to open yourselves completely. No defenses. No resistance. Just trust." She felt Ash's hesitation. What she was asking was dangerous. Opening the bonds completely made them vulnerable to exactly the kind of attack the Empress was preparing. "Please," Rose whispered. "Trust me." Ash folded his wings and stopped fighting. Through the bond network, Rose felt other dragons doing the same. Dozens of connections opened wide, exposed, vulnerable, and Rose reached for them all, not to control or command, but to connect. She wove the bonds together, human to dragon to Asheron, creating a network of shared consciousness. Everyone felt everyone else. The Empress's mages felt the love between bonded pairs. The dragons felt human dreams and fears. The humans felt ancient draconic wisdom. The network grew, spreading beyond those physically present. It touched every bonded pair in the Empire, hundreds of connections forming a web of shared experience. And at the center, Rose held them together, her own bond with Ash and Stellan acting as the anchor. The Nullstone discharged. The Empress's spell shot out, designed to sever and silence and suppress. It hit Rose's network with devastating force, and the network absorbed it. The spell's energy, meant to destroy bonds, instead flooded through them. But because Rose had connected everyone so completely, the destructive magic diffused. Spread too thin across too many connections, it lost its potency. Instead of breaking bonds, it revealed them in stunning clarity. Every person in the Empire who had ever wondered about bonds felt it. A moment of perfect understanding. This is what we could be. This is what was stolen from us. The Nullstone cracked. The artifact, designed to amplify magic, couldn't handle the feedback from hundreds of connected minds pushing back simultaneously. It shattered into dust, releasing a pulse that knocked the mages to the ground. The Empress stared at the empty pedestal where the stone had been, her expression finally showing genuine fear. "You destroyed it. The only artifact that could have..." She looked at Rose with something approaching awe. "What are you?" "Someone who believes in connection instead of control. Someone who thinks people are stronger together than apart." Rose swayed, exhausted by the effort of holding so many bonds at once. "You tried to silence us. Instead, you helped everyone hear us more clearly." Through the bond network, which was slowly dissolving as people released their connections, Rose felt the Empire changing. Human parents demanding the silence be removed from their children, Asheron seeking dragon partners. Ancient grudges beginning to soften as people felt each other's common experiences. The Empress sank to her knees. "I've lost." "You've lost control," Nova said, entering the chamber with palace guards. "But you don't have to lose everything. Help us build something better. Use your knowledge and experience to guide the transition instead of fighting it. Why would you offer me mercy? Because that's what the new empire is built on. Not revenge, but understanding. It's not punishment, but rehabilitation. Nova extended her hand. Mother, please. It's time to let go. For a long moment, the Empress didn't move. Then slowly, she took her daughter's hand and stood. The fight had gone out of her, replaced by weary acceptance. The journey back to the capital was triumphant but subdued. They had won, but everyone felt the weight of what had almost happened, how close they'd come to losing everything. Rose spent most of the trip sleeping, her head on Stellan's shoulder while Ash flew protective circles overhead. The bond network had exhausted her in ways she was still understanding. But through it all, she felt satisfaction. They had proved something important. Bonds made them stronger. Connection defeated control. 1 year later, Rose stood in the renovated throne room, now called the People's Hall. She was there for the graduation ceremony of the first integrated academy, where human and Asheran children had studied together, learned together, some of them even bonding with young dragons. Master Greaves sat in the front row, tears streaming down his weathered face as his granddaughter received honors for academic excellence. Something that would have been impossible under the old system. Elder Mora had published a complete history of the Silence, required reading in every school. The truth was out, undeniable and permanent. Princess Nova ruled as Empress now, the title redefined to mean public servant rather than absolute authority. Her mother had retired to a quiet estate, occasionally consulting on policy but no longer seeking power. And Stellan stood beside Rose as always, their bond deeper than ever. They'd never had a formal ceremony, didn't need one. The bond marks on their hands were marriage and commitment and partnership all in one. It's not perfect, Stellan said, watching the students receive their certificates. Nothing ever is, Rose replied. But it's better. It's honest. People have choices now. Through the bond, she felt Ash's contentment. The dragon was with Whisper and a dozen other young dragons, teaching them to find worthy partners. The next generation would grow up in a world where bonds were normal, expected, celebrated. I got a message from Earth this morning, Rose said. They want to establish formal diplomatic relations. They're fascinated by what we've built here. How do you feel about that? Rose considered. She'd been gone from Earth for so long, but it was still home in some ways. I think it's good. Other worlds need to know that change is possible. That oppressive systems can be dismantled without destroying everything. That humans have more potential than anyone gave us credit for. The famous human who changed an empire, Stellan teased gently. The maid who got bitten by a dragon and was too stubborn to accept what everyone said was impossible. Rose corrected. She turned to face him fully. None of this was just me. It was everyone who took risks. Everyone who chose hope over fear. That's very diplomatic. Nova's training you well? Rose laughed. Someone has to do the speeches while you handle the boring policy work. They were interrupted by a young human girl, maybe 7 years old, who approached nervously. She held a small purple dragon in her arms, newly hatched and bonded. Excuse me, Miss Collins. I wanted to say thank you. My parents told me that before you came, humans couldn't have dragons, that we couldn't be important. Rose knelt down to the girl's level. What's your name? Sarah, and this is Storm. The dragon chirped happily. Sarah, you need to understand something. I didn't give you this opportunity. It was always yours. It was always every human's right. I just helped remind everyone of that truth. Rose smiled at the dragon, who regarded her with curious golden eyes. You and Storm are going to do amazing things. Don't let anyone tell you there are limits to what you can achieve. I won't, I promise. Rose watched Sarah run back to her parents, the little dragon perched on her shoulder. She felt the rightness of it, the way the world was supposed to be. That night, Rose and Stellan climbed to the highest tower of the palace where Ash waited. The dragon had grown larger over the year, his scales now showing hints of gold among the blue and gray. He rumbled contentedly as Rose leaned against his warm side. I've been thinking about the future, Rose said. There are other worlds in the Empire, other planets where humans serve Asherans. They don't have dragons, but they have the same unjust hierarchies. You want to help them too, Stellan said. It wasn't a question. I want to try. Not by imposing our solution, but by showing what's possible. Let them see bonded pairs working together. Let them see humans with power and dignity. Seeds like Elder Mora talked about. That's years of work. Maybe decades, I know. But we've started something that's bigger than just Ashara. The idea that people are better together, that diversity is strength, that connection defeats control. Those ideas can spread. They should spread. Through the bond, Rose felt Stellan's agreement and Ash's enthusiasm. They were together. Whatever challenges came next, they would face them as partners. Below them, the city lights glowed in the darkness. Human homes and Asharan estates no longer strictly segregated. Mixed neighborhoods where children of both species played together. Universities where humans taught Asharans and Asharans learned from humans. Dragon sanctuaries where bonds formed freely without interference. It wasn't perfect. Prejudice still existed. Economic inequality would take generations to address. Some regions remained hostile to change. But the trajectory was set. The empire was becoming something new, something better. Rose thought about that day in the sanctuary when Ash first bit her. How terrified she'd been. How certain she was that her life was over. Instead, it had been a beginning. Not just for her, but for everyone. The palace was no longer silent. It rang with voices. Human and Asharan, debating and laughing and arguing and building together. It echoed with the sounds of change, uncomfortable and messy and absolutely necessary. And somewhere in all that noise and all that beautiful chaos of people learning to be equals, was proof that even the deepest silence could be broken, that even the most entrenched systems could transform, that a single act of connection could ripple outward until it changed the world. Rose pulled Stellan close, feeling their bond pulse with warmth. Ash wrapped his wing around them both, a gesture of protection and family. 3 souls, 3 species, 1 unbreakable connection. So, Stellan said with a smile, ready to change another empire? Rose looked out at the stars, at the vast universe waiting beyond Ashara. Somewhere out there, other humans were waiting for someone to show them that they could be more than servants. Somewhere out there, other bonds were waiting to form. Yes, she said simply. Yes, I am. The dragon's laugh rumbled through the night, joy and challenge and promise all at once. The maid who had been bitten by a dragon was gone. In her place stood someone new, someone strong, someone who had learned that the greatest power wasn't control or magic or ancient bloodlines. It was the courage to connect. And once you understood that truth, nothing could ever silence you again.